Idaho's news channel. This is the News Center 7 Midday Report. With Carolyn Holly, Jerry Jones, and Laurel Porter with Idaho's weather.
Good afternoon and welcome to KTVB's all-day coverage of Idaho's celebration of the century. We're live at Julia Davis Park in the capital city for the picnic of the century, where hundreds of state employees are gathered to soak up some sun and some fun. Carolyn, we couldn't ask for better weather.
It is an absolutely gorgeous day out here right now. I guess you could describe it as very, very pleasant. We have a soft breeze blowing, but even in the direct sunlight, it is so wonderful. I chatted with one woman before we started the show. She skipped work to be down here earlier, but most of the people in Julia Davis Park right now are folks who are state employees and got the afternoon off.
Well, this is the day to be here, and we have a lot coming up on this Centennial Day program.
We do. It's sure to be a non-stop type event day for all of us as Idahoans turn out to help celebrate the state's long-awaited birthday.
Now, if you haven't decided what to take in yet, we have some help for you. Reporter Dan Holler takes a look at what's coming up on this Statehood Day.
The decorations are in place for the biggest birthday bash in Idaho's history. In just a matter of minutes, downtown Boise will transform itself into the party of the century. Here's a brief look at the big events. From noon until 8 tonight, the picnic of the century will be held at Julia Davis Park. It's the place for good music and good food. From 2 until 6, the Centennial train stops at the Union Pacific Depot in Boise. At 2:45, the party begins to heat up with an antique motorcade that will carry dignitaries from the train depot to the Capitol for the State House celebration. From 3 until about 5:30, the State House steps will come alive with speeches, music, a 43 cannon salute, and a demonstration by Phantom Jets. At 5:30, you can try your luck with the $100,000 lottery drawing at the Julia Davis Band Shell. At 6:10, the cutting of the Idaho Centennial cake will take place near Zoo Boise. Then from 8 until 11 tonight, the big Centennial show, Celebrate Idaho, will energize the crowd at BSU Stadium. Highlights include a Native American performance of song and dance, Idaho square dancers, the dance of the Chinese dragon, and Basque dancers will also be there. Then the dazzling fireworks display lights up the sky from 10:35 to 10:55. The big finale comes from 11 until midnight with the Idaho Laser Show at the Grove. It's a big day that Idahoans are definitely ready for.
I'm real excited. I think it'll be a neat experience for everybody here.
The Capitol and everything looks really nice. People are really helping out. A lot of community support. I think it's going to be a great day. Show a lot of community spirit.
I'm really excited. I think it's a great day. It's not too hot and plan on having lots of fun.
Dan Holler, News Center 7.
And we do hope that you can get out and enjoy some of the activities today. Now, we have a little bit of advice from Boise Police. They say if you can get downtown Boise that is, without your car, do it. And they ask that you be extra careful as far as pedestrians today. A lot of people walking around, a lot of people riding their bikes, little children in strollers today.
Certainly a lot to look forward to, but if you can't wait to get started, come on down to Julia Davis Park and join all of these state workers for the picnic of the century.
Laurel Porter is with some of the picnickers right now, and we're going to join Laurel to find out what's on the menu.
Carolyn and Jerry, you know, it's been called the picnic of the century, and it's living up to its name. It's a big bash. We've got everything here for you, all kinds of food booths, the same kinds of food booths you'd find at the fair or at Arts in the Parks. You can see these balloons I have. The YMCA leadership group is selling these balloons. If it's too hot for you, I've got something else here for you. A fan. You can get this fan here. I'm going to hand these to Renee so I can have my other hand free here. And if you want buttons, hey, I feel like a salesman here. If you want buttons, we have Celebrate Idaho buttons for you here. Anything you want, any kind of souvenir here at the park. And of course, we have the picnickers. And I found a few of them here. And Russ, if you could get a shot of my picnickers here. I have Claudette, who is from Minnesota. What brings you here to the picnic of the century, Claudette?
Oh, we heard about it last fall when we were here, and we just couldn't wait to come. And I'm babysitting for the summer with my grandchildren, so I get to enjoy all of it.
So you're here to visit your daughter. Now, have you gotten to go to any of the events?
Oh, sure. We've been to all day yesterday. We went all afternoon down at the Grove. Kids really had a great time rock and rolling.
He likes the microphone, too. You were rocking and rolling, were you? What's your name?
Angela.
Are you having a good time, Angela?
Yeah.
Now tell me, are you doing anything more than babysitting today after the picnic?
Oh, well, we're thinking about going and have birthday cake, that's for sure. We might go see the governor, right?
Well, that sounds like fun. We welcome you to Idaho and thank you for joining our celebration. I have another lady to interview here, and I'll step right over here behind Claudette. And this is Julie Russell right here, and she has her 2 children with her. This is Carson, who's right here in front of the camera here with his hat. Carson, if you could come sit over here with us. And you can hear the Idaho song behind me. The bandshell is playing it. It's a beautiful song. Julie, tell me what brings you down here today.
I just wanted to get my children involved in celebrating the best state in the country.
And you have dressed your kids up. How did you do that? Did you make these outfits?
No, I was in the territorial Centennial and wanted to dress them up because I remember and see pictures of myself that way.
And you wore an outfit much like Kayla's there, I see. And you made the burlap vest there. What do you think about the Centennial this year? What does it mean to you?
Oh, it just makes me proud to be in Idaho, and we all were born here, and I'm just really happy to be part of it.
Thank you for joining us. Have a great time. I'm going to bring my microphone back over here. And I want to welcome and invite all of you down here to the Picnic of the Century. There's lots of grass left. Pull up a blanket and enjoy. It's a big bash, the Picnic of the Century. Back to you, Carolyn and Jerry.
Thank you, Laura. Looks like everyone's having a good time. You know, one of the highlights of today's Centennial Statehood Day will be the Celebrate Idaho laser show in the Grove. Now, last night, thousands turned out to see a sneak preview of the show, and they were not disappointed. The Idaho Centennial song and popular tunes accompanied the multicolored laser lights. Let's take a look. Now, Laser Fantasy, a Washington company, is doing the show. Synchronized animation and Idaho scenes are combined in the almost 15-minute production. There will be 3 showings, each one a bit different than the other. Shows get underway at 11 tonight. You'll be able to watch some of the action live during our 12-hour coverage of the celebration of the century.
And this celebration is going to take a lot of us down memory lane. There will be memories of the past, and there are visions of the future that are on display at the Idaho Historical Museum.
The decade-by-decade look at quilts also features quilts made specifically for the Centennial, and one quilt that is the granddaddy of them all, it's the Idaho State Quilt. News Center 7's Daria Folsom tells us about the quilt and the effort that went into making it.
It took more than a year to materialize. Nita Sales sewed the final stitches to bring out the beauty in the 44 blocks submitted by each of Idaho's 44 counties. When the quilt was finally finished, Centennial commissioners presented the state with 44 reasons to celebrate.
It is the, quote, granddaddy of them all, not only in size, but I think magnificence that is displayed here.
Those who worked on the project were beaming with pride.
It's been fantastic. It's been a real honor to be able to say I quilted the Centennial quilt.
It's a nice way to celebrate the Centennial. It's wonderful to be a part of a quilt that will last for an awfully long time.
It is a wonderful symbol of people working together to show the tremendous diversity that we have within our state.
The quilt is the size of a swimming pool, and each patch depicts the character of a different county. This one was designed by Georgia Hall Jones.
Every little town in Canyon County has a rodeo, and it was built around the railroad. And then I put in the logos from Albertsons, Simplots, Amalgamated Sugar, and Dairyman's.
Jane Frazier made the Ada County block.
It's based on the Union Pacific Railroad Depot, which was finished in 1925, and it was considered the finest example of Spanish colonial architecture in the state at that time. And it's also my favorite site in the county.
A yellow star is in the center of the quilt to symbolize the unity of all people and the energy, life, and bright future that lies ahead for Idaho. Daria Folsom, News Center 7.
And you can see the Centennial quilt at the Idaho Historical Museum, which is right here by Julia Davis Park on the corner, as you know, by the zoo here in Boise. You can see that through July 14th. Now, after that, it will be displayed at Yellow Pine Pioneer Days on August 2nd, and then it is going to head on to other locations around the state throughout the rest of this year.
And coming up, a look at the world, and the day's news. Stay with us.
Also, Laurel Porter will have our Statehood Day weather forecast.
The entire staff of First Security congratulates all the people of Idaho on this historic occasion marking the 100th anniversary of our becoming the nation's 43rd state. You, the citizens of Idaho, are what make this the best state in America to live, work, and play. We Idahoans look forward with even greater expectations for an even more successful second century of statehood. Congratulations, Idaho.
Why's he doing that?
Hi. He's going down. Want to help me with the groceries or what?
Sure, Mom. In a minute. Oh, look at that. There it goes. Here it comes.
Now, before the ice cream melts.
At Albertsons, you can afford to buy more groceries for your family.
She must have bought out the whole store.
Because at Albertsons, we have everything you need and low prices that'll save you money.
There's more for the fridge. Carefully, please.
Albertsons, we think like you do.
Which bag has the ice cream, Mom?
Keep looking. You'll find it.
Is just beginning to pick up on us, but we have a lot of news we want to tell you about that is going on outside of Idaho this noon hour. While Idahoans celebrate Centennial Day, former Philippine First Lady Imelda Marcos celebrated her acquittal on fraud charges at a New York restaurant last night. She was joined by Saudi money man Adnan Khashoggi, also acquitted of collaboration charges he faced. Despite yesterday's jury decision, the Philippine government says it will press charges against Marcos if and when she ever returns to the Philippines. But that's not likely since the current government refuses to let her back into the country.
Meanwhile, in the Soviet Union, a serious division between party reformers and conservatives is proving a serious challenge to Mikhail Gorbachev's political survival. Today is the second day of the 10-day Congress, and as Eileen O'Connor reports, the future of perestroika hangs in the balance.
Conservatives launched a counterattack in the second day of the Communist Party Congress, with Politburo member Yegor Ligachev leading the charge, saying liberals fight him because he stands for socialism.
I was branded a conservative and even anti-perestroika. Dirty slander and monstrous accusations were used against me.
Ligachev plays well with this crowd. Many party apparatchiks favor him as party leader. They see perestroika threatening their power, creating disorder. Ligachev insisted the country needs the party.
There are some who say perestroika will proceed with or without the party, but it cannot.
Trusted Gorbachev ally, Soviet Foreign Minister Edvard Shevardnadze, shot back, defending perestroika. It is the freeing of dissidents, arms control, and attention to human rights, which makes our country more attractive now, he said. Shevardnadze addressed conservative fears over German reunification.
German unity should be carried out in a way to guarantee that never would another war break out on German soil.
Shevardnadze scored for the reformers, saying he did not need to be in the party leadership to do his job. Liberal delegates were not impressed with the conservative arguments, saying some new blood is needed.
The majority members of all Politburo will disappear from political arena. It is good, not bad. Maybe some new people will come.
Muscovites crowd around newspaper stands, reading the latest score in this battle. I don't expect any positive results. They're all communists, says Andreev. Alexei Yermakov says it's a pity. Too many sides and no one helping the country.
I should say Gorbachev was not in the right form. Well, you know, in the West he looks much better. And here he looks not that good.
As in the Congress Hall, debate and arguments carry to the street. Yeltsin, that's who we need as leader, says this man. All agree something must be done. Some people say the communists should just get out of office. One placard imploring Gorbachev, you freed Eastern Europe, when will you free us? Gorbachev seems stuck between conservatives and reformers, wanting to move forward along with the liberals, but afraid to abandon the old system. Eileen O'Connor, Moscow.
And we have news coming to us from the state of Alaska today. The state's Congress is holding a special session to rescue the hunting rights of its citizens, rights that the state no longer controls. Thanks to an unprecedented takeover by the federal government, 2/3 of Alaskan lands are now in the hands of the federal government. And as Bert Jones reports to us today, it has left the state with quite a legal problem.
The unparalleled federal takeover affects roughly 2/3 of Alaska. It came after the state legislature failed to meet a July 1st deadline resolving the issue of priority hunting and fishing rights for Alaska's native peoples over sportsmen. Republican Senator Ted Stevens criticized the federal action.
Most Alaskans are really abhor this total federal domination of these lands. The federal government owns 65% of the lands of Alaska, and they're very restrictive in Alaskans' right to use those lands.
Under federal regulations, rural Alaskans, including Eskimos, Indians, and Aleuts, have priority rights for subsistence hunting and fishing. The Alaskan Supreme Court last year ruled the state's own subsistence hunting law was unconstitutional in that it discriminated against sportsmen. It gave the state until July 1st to resolve the situation. Governor Steve Cowper called a special session of the legislature, urging a constitutional amendment be placed before voters in November that would restore subsistence hunting rights.
In no other place in America can people choose to live in a way that is fundamentally much the same as the lives of the pioneers in this country and of the Aboriginal people before them. It is a way of life that is forever lost in the rest of America.
The National Rifle Association charged that both the old Alaska law and the federal regulations now in force discriminate against sportsmen.
We need to get back to 1960 where the state managed its own fish and wildlife. And I think we did a very good job.
A federal environmental specialist said during the interim federal stewardship, while some areas would be open only to subsistence hunters, he did not expect major restrictions on sports hunting. Burton Jones reporting.
That's our news for you from outside of Idaho, but a lot more of the Centennial celebration right here in Idaho is coming up your way from Channel 7. And if this celebration of the century isn't enough to suit your appetite, maybe, well, the cake of the century might be, Jerry?
We'll have that story, plus the weather forecast, coming up next.
Looks can be deceiving, but when it comes to dairy foods, there's an easy way to tell you're not getting some cardboard imitation. Always look for the real seal, the sign of genuine dairy foods. Look for the seal and know it's real. Real dairy foods or just glossy imitation? Don't get ripped off. Always look for the real seal. It's your guarantee of real dairy foods. Look for the seal and know it's real.
When you've got a fire in Cambridge, strangers don't answer the call, friends do. And Idaho Power's Alan Jones, Kevin Patno, Mike Yost, and Mark Wood are four of them. Mark, Alan, Mike, and Kevin, four of your neighbors at Idaho Power.
We welcome you back to our Centennial edition of the Midday Report. And if you're coming down for any of these activities today, you have to bring a camera because this is truly a picture-perfect day.
You're right, Carolyn, and Laurel Porter is probably winning some popularity contests right now. Laurel?
Carolyn and Jerry, they were just playing the song Let the Sun Shine In, and the sun is shining in, and this is one weather lady who is breathing a big sigh of relief. When I got up this morning, it reminded me of my wedding day. The night before my wedding, it poured rain. When I woke up the next day, it was crystal clear skies. I screamed for joy. The same thing I did this morning. We're so happy that the weather's cooperating. Let's show you those current conditions where we have sunny skies. And I'm told we don't have the current conditions to show you, but I'll tell you the temperature feels like it's probably in the 70s. We have light winds and just not a cloud in the sky. Now statistics, our normal low is about 55 degrees, but our low this morning got down to 40 degrees and we tied a record. There it is, I guessed right. The normal low is 56, the normal high is 87, the record high 105. Now the record low 41, and we tied that. Sunrise 6:08, sunset at 9:30. Now everybody, I want you to take a big deep breath. And if you're outside watching on your Watchman like I am, this is truly Idaho weather. This is a weather forecast for the Centennial, a weather forecast for this century. It couldn't be any better, and I want to show you the U.S. satellite picture so you can see why we have this nice weather right now. The cool front that moved through the state has now exited the state, and we have clear skies behind it. You can see a few clouds there in Utah and Colorado, but that's not amounting to much. Eastern Idaho, if you're listening over there, in extreme eastern Idaho, a slight chance of a thunder shower over there. But for the rest of it, it's going to be nice. The only thing that might be a mar to the forecast is a little bit of wind. Right now we don't have it, but we're expecting winds anywhere between 10 and 20 miles per hour. Here's a northwest satellite picture from this morning. It was gorgeous this morning. I hope you got a chance to catch it, but it felt like elk hunting season outside with those temperatures in the 40s. We don't usually see that kind of weather. I think it was back in April when we last had normal lows around 40. Now here's the noon hour. This is the way it looked, and you can see a few clouds moving into Oregon, but we don't expect those to move into Idaho, and shouldn't be any problem for the fireworks tonight. We should have clear skies. So what do you think? You're going to come down and bring a blanket down here? We have the second century kids behind me. I don't know if you can see them over my shoulder. They are terrific. They are kids who represent high schools from all over the area. They've never met each other before. They've never practiced together, and they are putting on some kind of performance. Everybody here really enjoying them. Let's take a look at the forecast as you look at the second century kids as we prepare for the second century. And Russ, if you could pan over there and let us show the forecast for McCall and the West Central Mountains. This is the way it looks. Mostly sunny, fair, sunny tomorrow, high temperature 69 degrees in McCall. That is 69 for Idaho City. Overnight low of 38 degrees. Sun Valley, high of 74, mostly sunny, then clear tonight for all your activities over there. 4th of July looks marvelous for everybody. Sunny in Magic Valley tonight, sunny tomorrow, your high 81 in Twin Falls, about a 90 for tomorrow. And for Boise today, sunny, winds 10 miles per hour, a high of 79 degrees. Tonight, if you're going to go to the fireworks show, clear skies, light winds, an overnight low of 51. And for the 4th of July, gosh, who's thinking about the 4th right now with the 3rd so wonderful? Sunny skies, a high temperature of 90. It'll be a little bit warmer tomorrow. But remember, we're selling fans out here, balloons. It's not going to get too hot, and I think everybody here, can you guys hear me here? You're probably all watching the second century kids. You having a good time? Let me hear it. You're wonderful. It's really a good time here, Carolyn and Jerry. Have a good time.
Sure looks like fun.
It sure does. And I hope those state workers are having a good time because they only have time off for the picnic, so they better watch their watches and get back for the afternoon, we've just been told.
What a turnout, too.
Yeah.
You can see the crowd behind us. Well, right now we're going to let you take a look at what's happening on Wall Street.
Some people want to change the world. We just want to change your oil.
Senator, what really happened to those missing campaign funds?
I'm glad you asked me that because it reminds me of a story my father once told me. He said, when the fish aren't biting...
Some people want to change the subject. We just want to change your oil.
Long before we were a bank, with more than 140 offices in Idaho, Oregon, Utah, and Washington, and over $4 billion in assets, we were people of kindness, people of patience, people of charity and good humor. And those are qualities we bring to work each and every day.
Well, we're about 22 minutes into our Centennial coverage for you, and it wouldn't be much of a birthday party without birthday cake, wouldn't it? But Albertsons is taking care of that for us.
That's right. Employees of the store at 16th and State have baked 2 cakes, as a matter of fact. One will go to the State House, the other to Julia Davis Park, where we are right now. Both will be in the shape of Idaho. The recipe for the cakes includes 600 pounds of cake mix, 110 pounds of eggs, close to 300 pounds of frosting. One cake will weigh 650 pounds, the other will weigh close to 900.
The big one will feed probably 6,000 to 7,000 people. This one here will feed about 3,000.
The cake will be cut by Governor Andrus in front of the State House at 3 o'clock. And how about a giant picnic to go along with that giant cake? To commemorate the Centennial, state employees are having this picnic with a few potatoes, 6,000 potatoes to be exact. Toppings for those potatoes will also be included, but spuds aren't the only fare of the day.
Sandwiches, hamburgers, hot dogs, all those things will be available too.
The only thing that's free is the baked potato. But all of this was donated by various vendors and companies throughout this area in Boise.
And that picnic is being held at the east end of Capitol Park.
And in less than 11 hours, Idahoans will witness the best of the best fireworks show. A national company that has performed fireworks shows for kings and for presidents is ready to help Idaho welcome in another century. Gretchen Anderson spent the day with the people preparing the show. She is back at the newsroom. And Gretchen, how good is this show going to be?
Carolyn, like nothing you've ever seen. The Grucci family has promised, has guaranteed a synchronized and unforgettable presentation of the best fireworks from throughout the world. Now, most think the explosives come from the Orient, but the Gruccis buy their fireworks from a dozen different countries, including the U.S., where Americans have a certain reputation for the product they produce.
And then the Americans are known for a lot of noise. The Italians and the American along that line are known for a lot of noise. The shells that'll open up in a burst of color, and then you'd hear a loud report at the end.
Here for us noisy Americans, and you'll hear those sounds inside throughout the valley. And if you want to clarify it just a bit, take along your FM radio and adjust it to K106. The station will simulcast the music during the 22-minute, 7-second show. The fireworks will begin at 11 o'clock tonight. Now that's 11 o'clock from Julia Davis Park, and your best vantage point is near Bronco Stadium. Now I understand the big show at the Bronco Stadium is a sellout, so grab your lawn chairs and enjoy the show from a favorite vantage point high up on the foothills. Carolyn?
Well, Gretchen, you know I'm on the early shift, so I hope I can stay up for that one. But you gave us a tip to be by Bronco Stadium. Any other tips on sites to see this great show?
I would say probably up at Table Rock, Carolyn, would probably be a nice place. Table Rock or even Castle Rock, somewhere up in the higher areas so that you can see down below. Even over by MK would be a nice place, because then you'll be right under the fireworks, excluding those people who are in the stadium. One other thing I should mention to you is I talked with the Gruccis yesterday, and Felix Grucci, who is organizing the whole show, talked to me about the synchronization of the music and the fireworks. And I asked him, now, Felix, I've been to shows that they say, you know, this is synchronized. Are we really going to see a good show here? And he guaranteed it, as I said before, that when the music reaches a crescendo, so will the fireworks. So stay tuned. We're going to have a wonderful time tonight.
Stay tuned to that radio station, it sounds like. Thank you very much, Gretchen, for that report from the Channel 7 newsroom. Well, the forgotten Centennial time capsule is suddenly getting a lot of attention. Yesterday, News Center 7's Jake Putnam reported on some old film that was found in the basement of Channel 7. The clip showed a group of people burying a time capsule from the territorial Centennial in 1963. Since the capsule is buried in a city park, the city will take possession of the contents and possibly place new items in the capsule for the state's bicentennial in 2090. Now, tomorrow at 12:30 in the afternoon, the State Public Works Department and the Mayor's Office will be on hand to help dig up this time capsule. Former Channel 7 reporter Bob Pyle says he'll be there, and so will News Center 7. At this time, we are trying to put together a live broadcast, so we'll keep you posted. Stay tuned to see if we can bring you that live. If not, you can bet it's going to be on our later shows, especially to see what those contents contain. What's in there?
Mystery.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be right back with more on today's statehood celebrations. Don't go away.
Enjoy it.
Idaho. It's your centennial year. A year to celebrate Idaho's rich history. Your people. Your land. Your way of life. These are the things that make Idaho unique. Shopko stores salute the Idaho Centennial spirit. Happy 100th birthday, Idaho, from your friends and neighbors at Shopko.
Idaho was only 22 years old when Morrison Knutson was founded in Boise in 1912. 78 years of worldwide construction work have followed, and Idaho remains home for the state's oldest publicly held company. As our centennial gift to the people of Idaho, MK is providing major funding for the Boise River Observatory, a man-made ecosystem for fish and other wildlife that will provide a unique educational experience for generations. Happy birthday, Idaho.
Well, what would the Idaho Centennial be without a parade? And we've had one already this morning.
It is courtesy of the kids at the Teach a Tot daycare of Maple Grove in West Boise. More than 80 kids turned out this morning for a special parade. They were on foot, on bikes, even a drill team was featured. And even the Tots got their place in the parade. Daycare organizers say they've had a parade each of the last 4 years, but this one was held with Idaho's birthday in mind. That looks like a lot of fun, and with today's weather, you didn't have to put a lot of sunscreen on the little kids today because it is just wonderful out there. Well, this half hour that we're winding up here on our Centennial edition of the Midday Report just marks the very beginning of Channel 7's Centennial Day coverage for you. There is so much more that we're going to be able to bring you today. In just a few minutes, we will be joining Dee Sarton and Larry Meneely at Boise Union Pacific Depot for the grand opening of the Centennial celebration.
We'll have speeches from state leaders, stories about the history of people and places around the state, the statehood ceremony at the State House, and much, much more, all building up to the Celebrate Idaho show tonight at Bronco Stadium.
We hope you don't go away. We hope you'll stay with us through this coverage. Why don't we leave you with a few sights and a few sounds of what they're calling the picnic of the century here at Julia Davis Park. Look forward to seeing you the rest of today.
Celebrate Idaho.
On July 3rd, 1890, Idaho became the 43rd state in the Union. Today, July 3rd, 1990, Idaho celebrates 100 years of statehood, and KTVB Channel 7 is proud to bring you live coverage of all the festivities. Idaho's celebration of the century. Sponsored by West One Bank, Minute Loop, Shopko, and United Dairymen of Idaho. Together, we show our pride and
Celebrate Idaho. It's a century old. Look around and enjoy what you see. We built a beautiful home where our children can grow. Celebrate Idaho. Celebrate Idaho.
Good afternoon, and that is what we are doing today, celebrating Idaho. The day has finally come. Good afternoon, I'm Dee Sarton.
And I'm Larry Meneely, and we welcome you to our live coverage of Idaho's 100th birthday. It is billed as the celebration of the century, and it certainly for the past 365 days has been living up to that.
Yes.
We welcome you, and we invite you to stay with us because we're going to take you every step of the way through one of the most exciting days in the history of this glorious state.
We are so privileged to be a part of it, here with the front row seat, and you too. As a matter of fact, we're at the Union Pacific Depot, coming to you live right now. In about an hour and a half, the Centennial train will be arriving here, and I want you to take a look at a beautiful sight. This is Skycam 7. And the train is at the Napa Depot, where it will take off in about 45 minutes on its journey here. Our helicopter will bring you shots throughout our coverage here at the depot, and it's going to be showing us the train making its way to Boise, and really some breathtaking shots, not just of the train, but throughout the city, things that you and I just would not be able to see otherwise.
We hope to share some of the history of the train, and it is quite a sight to see that chugging across the state. It's made a tour with state officials headed right here into Boise. Joining us for our coverage here at the Union Pacific Depot, a man who knows about as much about the state of Idaho as anyone could ever be expected. Arthur Hart, who is the Director Emeritus of the Idaho State Historical Society. Welcome, and we really look forward to having you share some of the knowledge that you've gained over your career.
It's a great day, and I'm just delighted to be here.
Arthur is a walking, talking history book if you've ever had a chance to spend time with him, but of the best kind. We've been to several Centennial events together and always adding some fascinating insight. Arthur, I'd like to ask you now, as you've traveled around the state and seen what Idahoans have done to put this together, give us an idea of the planning that went into that.
Well, the governor appointed the Centennial Commission 5 years ago, and the charge to the commission at that time was to make it a committee of 1 million people. And I think Idaho's done an exceptional job. I can't imagine greater participation from more Idahoans than we have had. There's a county committee in every county. There's a city committee, a town committee, a church committee, a club committee. Everybody has got a Centennial project, and in some cases, lots of them.
And what I've been really impressed by is how well Idahoans have worked together on those projects. When we'd go into a city and we'd see things happening, there was such a sense of camaraderie, not competition, but real camaraderie.
Well, I think it's been fun, and there's been a conscious effort to bring Idahoans together who have sort of been separated by our geography throughout all these years. Some towns like Boise have adopted a sister city like Lewiston, and school kids from the southeast corner of the state have exchanged visits with their counterparts in the north. So it's really been a wonderful thing to observe. And hopefully, through all of these activities, we're going to know our own state better.
Arthur, one of the points that you've shared with us before we went on the air is the pride that we feel here in Idaho in what has happened and what is taking place here today is really being recognized visibly and consciously in surrounding states.
I think so. People I talk to are quite impressed with the effort we've made in Idaho, and some of the other Centennial states just don't see how we did it. But I think we did it because we consciously tried to get everybody involved from the beginning.
Well, I certainly hope that everybody that can be is involved today. We're broadcasting all over the state, which we're particularly tickled about because obviously everyone can't be in Boise, although all of your communities have had wonderful projects throughout the year. But we want to invite you to come to Boise if you're in any of the 72 cities that we're broadcasting to and spend the day with us here. We're going to be, as Larry said, all over this city for all of the events. In addition to our coverage here at the depot, there are a number of events going on throughout the capital city. We're going to show you now a live shot from Bannock Street. That's where Bob Holland and A.K. Leinhardt will provide coverage from 3 o'clock this afternoon until 5 o'clock on all of the events that are taking place there and at the state capitol this afternoon. And doesn't the capitol look beautiful today? Some of the festivities include a performance from the 25th Army Band, a one-of-a-kind interview with Idaho's governors past and present. That's a rather history-making interview. And a 43-gun salute, as well as a jet flyover from the National Guard. And I think you'll enjoy those particular events this afternoon because they're really the patriotic spirit of this whole event.
So much has been planned and so much taking place. It's really an exciting time. And I think you can feel that in the community and throughout the community of the state, as Arthur noted, the feeling of pride and great self-worth that Idaho has generated in its people. And you know, we always say the only thing that's better than the fabulous scenery of this state is its people.
That is so true, and I think the timing, you can't plan timing a Centennial event, but the timing in our state's history just couldn't be better. As Arthur mentioned, a time of coming together. As you look at the capital city and see the changes taking place here, we're in a real transition time, and it's a real special day to be honoring what has brought us this far.
Well, we have a full afternoon of coverage here from the depot and Julia Davis Park and the Bannock Street Garage. And after our regularly scheduled newscasts, Idaho at 5, the NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, and the News Center 7 Evening Report, we will go to Julia Davis Park, where a number of people will be celebrating with family and friends throughout the day. We'll take a historical look at the park, as well as the Julia Davis Park Bandshell. Carolyn Holly and Laurel Porter will be your hosts there. It's billed as, what, the world's largest picnic, and it ought to be a great occasion down there at Julia Davis.
Well, the birthday cakes that have been baked for this event, I think, serve a total of 4,000 people. And as you saw earlier, if you were watching our noon show, the folks down at Julia Davis Park already have been enjoying a picnic. And I was interested in Laurel Porter's interview. I think the family was from Minnesota. They had heard about our celebration last fall sometime and made it all the way out here, and they had already been to several Centennial events. I happened to make it out to the Leisure Show last night, and what a neat sight that was, as hundreds, I wouldn't even begin to estimate the crowd turning out on the first night of that to see what's going on and to be a part of this. And I thought, how wonderful, it's free. It's something we can all enjoy.
Yes, it is, and that will top off our night of coverage tonight. We invite you to be back with us at 7:30 this evening as we go live from Bronco Stadium with the Celebrate Idaho show. It's a program that features over 900 performers. It's been months in the making, and it promises to be a spectacular occasion. The show features Native American dancers, an authentic Chinese dragon that's come over from Portland. We'll share some background on that with you. A musical salute with a variety of performers, so much more. All of the state's political figures and the people who have worked behind the scenes, thousands and thousands of volunteers who've made this day possible. The night will be finished off with a spectacular fireworks display from Bronco Stadium, choreographed by K106 FM here in Boise. And then we hope, if everything's working and the wonders of modern technology stay with us, to be taking you live by helicopter to view the laser show again tonight. And you mentioned the laser show. It's tonight and again tomorrow evening on the side of the First Interstate Bank building down at the Grove. And what a wonderful opportunity to get out and see some of the downtown area and enjoy this great evening.
Of course, the evening will conclude down at the stadium with the Grucci fireworks display, and that is something I think the kids are especially looking forward to as we top off the evening with that. This afternoon, Gretchen Anderson gives us a preview of the family's plans to light up the Idaho sky.
Look out, Idaho, you're about to see the best of fireworks displays. The Grucci Company out of New York has lit up skies across the nation for a myriad of celebrations, like the Olympics, presidential inaugurations, and the dedication of the Statue of Liberty. And the Gruccis are honored to perform in Idaho.
This Centennial alone is a big event for us to be able to come out to Boise and do this program.
Tonight's show will go unmatched. Felix Grucci guarantees it's unforgettable.
They're going to see a program that I can promise you've never seen out in this area before. I mean, this program that we're going to be doing tomorrow night is actually one of our bigger programs for the 4th of July. It is a patriotic program. There are patriotic music that we're using. It's going to open with Neil Diamond's America.
The music will ring throughout the valley, but if you plan to view the show from a distance, you can enhance the sound with radio station K106, one of the sponsors of the program.
They are the simulcasting station, and if you're sitting out a mile away from here with your radio on, or anywhere in the lower mountain range with your radio on, you could certainly see the program.
Yeah. It takes hours of preparation for the 22-minute, 7-second show. One after another, the rusty mortar shells are filled with the colorful explosives that come from all over the world.
You'd go to the Orient for the chrysanthemum type of fireworks, the peonies that look like flowers. You might go to France for the delicate colors that'll come from the ground, the low-level pyrotechnics.
And these pyrotechnicians double-check and triple-check each other's work, making certain all is in order. At 11 p.m., they'll fire the explosives from Julia Davis Park over Bronco Stadium. You'll be able to see the fireworks display from all over the valley, especially if you're up above in the foothills. But the best place to see them is right here in Bronco Stadium, because you'll have the benefit of listening to the music, you'll see the bands, the dancers, and there will be an on-ground firework display using Roman candles. All in all, over 1,300 fireworks will explode above the capital city, welcoming in Idaho's second century. Gretchen Anderson, News Center 7.
Oh, what a terrific evening is ahead of us. Again, that show at Bronco Stadium gets started at 8 o'clock. The fireworks scheduled to be fired off at about 10:30, 10:45, somewhere in that vicinity. And then the laser show starts at 11 o'clock downtown. A great, glorious day, lots of activity. We hope you're with us for all of it. And if you miss any of it, the News Center 7 Night Report will be along at 11 to recap the day's highlights and show you all of the exciting activities taking place here on Centennial Day in the state of Idaho.
You know, I can't help but wonder how many folks were able to sneak a TV into their workplace today to watch a little bit of this. We know many of you are working, including our state employees who took a little time off for the picnic this afternoon, but they're back hard at work, and everyone anxious, I suppose, for that evening time to roll around so they can participate in the evening activities. But we are hoping that you're able to enjoy some of the events this afternoon. If you are at work, we're glad that you're with us today. You know, throughout our coverage this afternoon, we're also going to be joined by John Patterson. He is trackside. John, what do you have for us?
Well, Dee, Larry, and Arthur, you know, it couldn't be a more beautiful day. The weather has really cooperated. As I look around, I don't even see a cloud in the sky. There might be one up there. Yesterday, we were kind of worried with the rain and stuff, but Mother Nature really putting on a show for Idaho's 100th birthday. We've been talking about the Union Pacific 844 train, and it's going to come right down these tracks right around 2 o'clock. Keep our fingers crossed and see if it's on time. Dignitaries on board will include Governor Cecil Andrus and former Governor John Evans, and they'll be addressing the crowd, which has started to assemble here. We've got a few hundred people already beginning to show up, and as you can hear in the background, probably a little bit of music. They're pulling into the Union Pacific Train Depot, which is a historical structure that we're going to be telling you about a little bit later in the broadcast. A lot going on. We're going to hear from dignitaries. We're going to talk to people in the crowd. I just can't even tell you how much we have planned, but it's exciting, so I encourage you, wherever you are, just to fasten your seatbelts and hang on, because Channel 7 is going to provide you up-to-the-minute coverage of what's going on. Let's take it back to you, Dee and Larry.
Well, John, I'd just like to mention real quickly that this event has made all of us students of history. I suppose that if you haven't already, you're going to be learning a lot about history today. I know John was telling me he's really been boning up on his train history the last couple of weeks.
There's so much history here, and Arthur, you, through the afternoon, we want to call upon you. But this landscape was so different 100 years ago than what we take for granted now, the beautiful lush valley that we have here.
This was nothing but sagebrush 100 years ago, and the little ramshackle wooden railway station, which was east of here then, only saw about 2 trains a day. Well, I guess we don't see many more than that now, but that's progress, as they say. But the landscape was very different. The bench had not yet been built upon except for a few farms. There were trees down in the valley by 100 years ago, but mostly still right along the river and in the town itself. Governor Shoup described in a letter to his wife a trip from that little depot down to the city and how hot and dusty it was, and how he was welcomed at the Overland Hotel when he got there. And he was very pleased with his welcome, but it was not a great pleasure to ride from this old depot before this one down to the hotel.
Well, this depot has become such a landmark of Idaho and of Boise. I remember as a child, on the way to Grandma and Grandpa's house in Colorado, we would drive by. The old highway used to go by here, and I thought for sure this was the state capitol. They had a hard time convincing me otherwise because it was it had such an ominous presence as you drove by it. And you said that you have had several experiences as well, close by to the Union Pacific Depot, that you can remember the early days.
Well, I remember coming through here first during the war when I was shipped from Fort Lewis, Washington down to Utah. And that was probably my first glimpse of Boise, as a matter of fact. But later we came through here many times, and we even stayed in a little motel that was just east of here that I didn't know was notorious till I later became an Idaho historian. But that was Diamond Tooth Lil's place. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll ask you more about that story later.
Okay.
There is a lot going on throughout the afternoon and into the early evening. We're not going to miss a bit of it, and we guarantee you won't either, so stay with us.
When we come back, a look at the history of trains here in Idaho.
The entire staff of First Security congratulates all the people of Idaho on this historic occasion marking the 100th anniversary of our becoming the nation's 43rd state. You, the citizens of Idaho, are what make this the best state in America to live, work, and play. We Idahoans look forward with even greater expectations for an even more successful second century of statehood. Congratulations, Idaho.
Senator, what really happened to those missing campaign funds?
I'm glad you asked me that because it reminds me of a story my father once told me. He said, when the fish aren't biting...
Some people want to change the subject. We just want to change your oil.
I got wheels, I got steels, and you...
Zest.
Buy 2.
Picky, pooty, fluffy, homemade buttons. Call now. Some people want to change your mind. We just want to change your oil.
When you've got a fire in Cambridge, strangers don't answer the call, friends do. And Idaho Power's Alan Jones, Kevin Patno, Mike Yost and Mark Wood are 4 of them. Mark, Alan, Mike, and Kevin, 4 of your neighbors at Idaho Power.
Bo? Yeah, he knows baseball and he knows football, but here at News Center 7 Sports, we know them all. Diddley? What kind of sport is that? News Center 7 Sports and NBC Sports, a winning combination.
We're back at the Union Pacific Depot, living the 100th anniversary of Idaho's statehood. I'm Larry Maneely along with Dee Sarton and Arthur Hart. And Arthur, you noted a few minutes ago the fact that 100 years ago there were a couple of trains a day, and we're back to that same number right now. But there was a period when it was quite a glorious time for trains.
Trains ran a lot and were very important to Idaho in those days. In fact, Boise worked for many years to get the main line of the Oregon Short Line, part of the Union Pacific system, to come here. And when it came in 1883, it missed the town by 10 miles, which was a source of great disgust. But in 1887, we did get a branch line over here from Nampa, and that's when that first little depot was built. The second depot was downtown on Front Street. And then finally in 1925, they had as big a celebration as we're having today, just about, and they called it Mainline Day, and that's when Boise got put on the main line. And that famous picture of Governor Hawley dressed up like a cowboy that you've seen a lot of lately, it was taken on Mainline Celebration Day, and they had a huge crowd of people here at this depot, which was brand new itself. So the first train coming into this station did not happen until 1925.
A lot of people are getting to relive at least a portion of Idaho's train history today as they are traveling by train on the Centennial train. It has been chugging its way across the state, and it's a big part of this celebration. David Mills shows us while this particular train is old, it certainly is not forgotten.
Like a scene from years gone by, this vintage Union Pacific train is steaming its way across the Gem State. It's on a centennial tour of southern Idaho, truly a whistle-stop journey if ever there was one. The train is on a 6-day, 14-city trek. Its first stop in Idaho was Montpelier on the eastern border. And like everywhere it goes, the steaming giant was greeted by an enthusiastic crowd. For some, it was like nothing they've ever seen before. For others, it was a chance to reminisce.
One of the best train rides I ever had, or probably the most exciting. I went from Fort Lewis, Washington to Hammond General in Modesto, California when I went in the Army with 21 other nurses.
And what Idaho Centennial train would be complete without our state's governor? While Cecil Anderson never campaigned from the back of a train, on this day you could mistake him for Teddy Roosevelt.
How old are we going to be? 100. 100 years old on July the 3rd, and that's what we're doing. And I'm glad you're here. Hey, the ride's been outstanding, and we've had a lot of people in Idaho celebrating the Centennial. I think there's a lot of enthusiasm for lighting that 100th candle on the cake.
Old steam engines like the 844 aren't seen in these parts very much anymore. In fact, they aren't seen in too many places at all. You see, back in the 60s, they gave way to diesel engines, and the steam locomotive pretty much went by the wayside. Except for this one. Union Pacific has saved it, restored it, and placed it into special service. As the 844 steams its way through the Gem State, along the way, hundreds of lucky Idahoans have the chance to step aboard the old train and step back in time.
Oh, this is heaven. Just can't explain it any other way. I'm so glad I got to go. I didn't think I'd ever ride again.
It was really neat to see things from more like the inside out. It's really a different view of things.
Great to me is going back in time and riding a passenger train like used to across the country.
At least for now, the steam locomotive is king of the rails, turning heads and rekindling memories. Memories of an Idaho that once was. Memories of a state with 100 years of history. David Mills, News Center 7, your Centennial Day station.
Something about trains. I'm not sure whether it's the Centennial or the trains. I was visiting with the governor yesterday about the trip that he's making and leading the entourage of officials on the train across the state, and they'll be pulling in here in a little over an hour. And he commented on how remarkable it is. There's always division politically, and always people who have a little bit of problem with the way state government is running. And he said he's had one person in this entire week of riding the train and visiting with thousands of Idahoans, one person who commented on a problem they had with state government. He said everybody has a grin on their face, a hearty laugh, and just enjoying a terrific occasion.
That's encouraging to hear, especially at a time like this when we really are trying to focus on celebrating instead of on problems. And as you mentioned earlier, the cooperation between the counties, there's been friction in the past, but this cooperation between the counties has also been something that's been noted by our Centennial celebration. Right now, John Patterson is going to visit with Gwen Rice, who is the local Centennial chair in Camas County. And John, I understand that Camas County has been involved in a unique project with the Union Pacific Railroad.
Boy, Dee, that is exactly right. You know, Camas County isn't the only place that's been involved with Centennial projects, as you well know, but they have done an interesting project which has to do with trains. And first I'm going to introduce my new friends. First of all, Gwen Rice and his wife Lena. Gwen calls himself a dirt farmer from Camas County. He has been very involved in a project which, well, maybe you could just tell me a little bit about it. It has to do with trains, and what's it all about, Gwen?
Well, thank you, John Patterson and KTVB. This is a real pleasure to be here, and we're really excited. We've had a great time restoring this caboose, and the train means a lot to us, and boy, to move the American dream in Camas County, and we're really happy. We have so many good people helping us, and we love it.
You talked a little bit about the caboose, and I think we have pictures of it, if I'm not mistaken, and we'll probably just see if they can get a shot of that. And as they do that, there it is on the screen, and you can kind of tell me about it and what was involved in putting it together. You restored it, didn't you?
It took quite a while, and that's probably how come we got this job of volunteering, is to get the caboose, and we got the caboose, and it took quite a while for the railroad to deliver it to a place where we hauled it up on a truck and put it in Fairfield, and we've been restoring it through a lot of volunteers.
It looks gorgeous. It's all bright and shiny and yellow. I guess it wasn't that color when you got it, was it?
No, it was pretty battered and bruised, and I'll tell you, it shines up when you go by the highway, you'll see it.
Well, also your wife Lena joins us, and Lena, you've been involved just in all kinds of projects, so one specifically has to do with the Union Pacific, and maybe tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, we wanted to have something in the caboose that showed our appreciation of the railroad, so we have this caboose book, and Marjorie Boucher, Adelia Trader, and Buzz Van Skyke put this together.
We're going to pull out a little bit and get a shot of that if we can, and you can kind of tell me about it.
All right. We had the railroad come in 1912, and we had no way in or out. It brought the mail, it brought the supplies, it took out the sheep, and we were the biggest shipping point for sheep in the whole world for a while at Hill City. And so we're really well known for that and used to be on the map. But in '83, they took the train out from Hill City, so no longer are we on the map. But we're still there, and our county is only 1,200, and everybody has helped with this caboose. It started with a civic organization and a dream by Linda Miller, and it ended up with Charlie Clark seeing to it that we got a caboose. And
Lena, show me this book here. What's in there?
Oh, we have pictures of all of the stops that the caboose made. That the train made, and how it had the rotary. One day there was 17 days that they didn't have any train, and everybody was almost out of food. We have each place that it stopped, 5 places just on our prairie. People would get on and just ride into town on it for 50 cents.
Well, a lot of research and a lot of hard work went into this. I can tell that it really means quite a bit to you all, and certainly to all of us. Really tremendous gift from Camas County. You mentioned that the folks have really pitched in there. Is that any trouble recruiting them to help with the caboose or any of the projects, Gwen?
Didn't have any trouble recruiting anybody. It just takes a long time, and we really are glad to do it to make memories of this. And I just don't know how we've been able to get so much good help from every level of the state. And all these people in the State Centennial Commission have been so good to Lena and I. I really mean real good.
Well, I think it's been a cooperative effort. Everybody in the state seems to have really pitched in. We all are really proud of our Centennial, and This is just one example, Dee and Larry and Arthur, the Rices, you know, and their effort, and all the folks in Camas County. We'll be talking with other people from other counties a little bit later on and find out what they've been up to. But as you can see, a lot of people real excited about this, and certainly we are too. We'll take it back to you.
Thank you very much, John. As you mentioned, we're focusing in on activities here in Boise today, but a lot of things happening around the state. A lot of activities have taken place throughout the year, and of course, more yet today. A number of things that have taken place have really required local committees, as John just mentioned, to do some awfully hard work.
And joining us live right now on the set here is Paul T. Schneider, who is the local Centennial chair from Lemhi County. And just 1 year ago, Idaho's 99th birthday, Statehood Day 1989, was celebrated up in your area.
That's correct. We had a fantastic time last year. A lot of activities and a lot of work went into that. Salmon, obviously, as everybody knows, is rather secluded, and it's one of those places that's difficult to get from here, and it doesn't make any difference where you start from. But the drive is gorgeous, and we had the opportunity last year of having the Statehood Day celebration in Salmon, and of course in Lemhi County, because Salmon is the only incorporated city within the county itself. But we had lots of activities, and that throughout the entire day, and a lot of hard work. And I would like to just take just a moment to mention the fact that last year at this particular time, we had a lady who was heading our committee by the name of Barbara Young. And we've had a situation